Alrighty, you should now have spent some time identifying some techniques in that particular poem. Now remember, it's worth 3 marks. Find 3 techniques. The ones that are accessible, the ones that you feel confident in analysing and linking to not only the rubric but the ideas in the question as well. Okay, don't waste time trying to find a technique for every single line. You just need 3 good ones. Okay, you need to be judicious in the techniques that you choose to talk about. All right. In saying that, you should have been able to identify a couple of the following. Firstly, we've got the rhetorical question in first person in the title, Where Am I? The word desperate is high modality and emotive language. We've got the words Google and text, which are jargon. The words rotting, dead, and strange are examples of negative imagery. The word compare suggests a juxtaposition between the message washed up in an old bottle and my new slate black iPhone, and we have a rhetorical question to finish. Now, if you don't have any of those or you struggle to find them, please add them to your sheet now. Okay, this is a really good exercise in being able to identify these techniques. So these are the kinds of things that you need to be looking for if you get a text like this in your exam. Okay, all right, your turn. You need to write a steal paragraph. It needs to have 3 techniques, okay, because it's worth 3 marks. On the question, how does the poem convey what is valued by the persona? Please make sure that you have your rubric in front of you. Okay, you have to have your rubric in front of you and use some of the keywords and terminology from that in your response. Now, given that it's worth 3 marks and we're spending 2.5 minutes per mark, that gives you 7.5 minutes. I would spend no longer than 10 minutes on this. So I'll get the teacher to pause the video for 10 minutes. See how you go, see how you go sticking to the 7.5 minute time frame, but otherwise you have 10 minutes to write your steal paragraph on this particular question now. All right, you should have your answer written down at this stage. Now, make sure that you are still using the skills that I taught you in essay writing last term, okay? So everything that I taught you is still relevant now, or even more so now. So make sure that you're using the steal paragraph structure. If you want to use the @Quevy sentence structure, you can. Just make sure that you're getting your ideas across to your marker, and that your sentence structure and your expression doesn't detract from the good ideas that I know that you have. So here's a sample answer that Nessa has provided. I want for you to think about what mark you would give this out of 3. Given the very brief marking criteria that we were given, what I look for when I mark these kinds of questions is, number 1, does it answer the question? Number 2, has it got rubric terminology in it? Does it demonstrate that this particular person or the student knows the rubric and knows the concept of text and human experiences? And number 3, I am looking for techniques. Okay, so really judicious techniques that help to support their answer. So let's read it. The persona values being connected to the world through technology. This is expressed through the emotive word desperate in the first line and reinforced in the last 2 lines with a comparison between old methods of communication, message in an old bottle, and new methods, new slate black iPhone. The rhetorical question in the final line reinforces the value placed on the technology. So 3 sentences, 3 marks. There are 3 techniques there: emotive word, comparison, and rhetorical question. I am probably being a little bit harsh here, but I probably wouldn't give it full marks only because of the lack of explicit references to the rubric. And to improve this, it's as simple as saying something like, in the first sentence, the persona values the human experience, or the individual or the collective human experience of being connected to the world, and achieves this through technology. Something like that. Okay, so it's as simple as ensuring that you have some keywords from the rubric in your answer. Other things that you could include. The persona's disconnection from the environment is expressed through negative imagery, such as rotting kelp, dead things, and strange salty wind. In contrast, they express a need to connect through technology, using jargon such as Google and text to reinforce the personal value of technology. All right, so I'm happy for you to take some time now to add some of these ideas to your own responses. Make sure that you take these notes and you don't lose them, because we'll be doing these activities a lot, and the terminology that you use will be similar across all of the questions. So I'm happy for the teacher to pause this just quickly to get you to write a couple of these ideas down. Let's have a go at another one. This one's worth 4 marks. The question is, explain how this passage explores the complexity of relationships. Remember, you need to look at the question first, the complexity of relationships. We're looking for examples within this particular text that show the complexity of relationships. Right? So as we're reading, think about some particular lines. Remember, if this is your reading time, you're not allowed to pick up a pen. So pick out some lines that stand out to you that explore the complexity of relationships. All right, let's read. I once read that the heart's magnetic field radiates up to 5 meters from the body, so that whenever we are within this range of another person, our hearts are interacting. The body's silent communications with other bodies are unmapped and mysterious, a linguistics of scent, colour, flushes of heat, the dilating of a pupil. Who knows? What we call instant attraction may be as random as a momentary synchrony of 2 hearts' magnetic pulses. Eva's mother believed in past life connections, that 2 souls can be twinned over and over, playing out different roles so that in one life they may be mother and daughter, in another husband and wife, in a third dear friends. I only know that throughout my life I have felt an instinctive attraction to particular people, male and female, romantic and platonic. Attraction inexplicable at the time, but for a certain mutual recognition. It was this way with Eva, although we were only 8 years old. I remember that day after it all fell apart, when Eva came to me through the misty garden, so that her red coat bled into view from white to pale rose to scarlet, the pride I felt, that I was the one she turned to, that I could give her what her family could not. All those years as part of the Trenthams' lives, feeling loved but never needed, never family. I am an only child. It is my lot to be envious, even grasping, to long for the bonds that tie sisters together, the fearless, unthinking acceptance that we are social creatures, pack animals, that there is never truly the threat of being alone. All right, another very brief marking criteria, but remember, I'm looking for 3 things. I'm looking for your ability to address the question, so make sure that you are referring to the complexity of relationships in your response. I'm looking for keywords and terminology from the rubric, and I'm looking for judicious choice of techniques. So you need to find those techniques now, go through with your partner, identify 4 techniques at least. Okay, remember it's worth 4 marks. I want for you to identify at least 4 techniques. So I'll get the teacher to pause the video now for max 5 minutes, and you can try and identify some of those techniques in this extract. Alrighty, let's see how you went. You should have been able to identify that this is in first person. The words magnetic field and magnetic pulses are jargon and create a lexical chain of scientific terminology. Linguistics of scent, colour, flushes of heat, the dilating of a pupil, examples of sensory imagery. 2 souls can be twinned is a metaphor, and there's a juxtaposition here between the first paragraph, which has scientific language in it, which is juxtaposed here to the more anthropological language. And anthropology has to do with the study of humans and their interactions, and essentially our study right now is an anthropological study. We have male and female, romantic and platonic, which is contrast and juxtaposition. And then we have colour personified in the last paragraph. So you should have been able to identify some of those techniques.